From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas of Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I talked to Cyruss Nambak and David Banoliel, and we talk about their product, AI Influencer, and a lot about influencer marketing. So grab a drink, sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. Today I'm here with Cyrus and David, and we're going to talk about a product they have called AI Influencer. How are you gentlemen today?
Hi, how are you?
Great, Robert. How are you doing?
Doing good. David, do you want to take a minute and introduce yourself about your background and what you've done and what you're doing, please?
Sure. My name is David Banoliel. I've been in startups for 30 plus years. Based here in Toronto. So I started in software. It was actually an offshoot of my family business. I created a piece of software coming out of school, studied at York University, and then from there got kind of enamored with the internet. A series of different internet-related businesses that culminated in my first exit in 2007, an enterprise consulting firm that we had with a partner of mine, to a public company in Toronto called Cyberplex. That exit happened in 2007. And from there, I went on to a different path, which was really advertising and technology and marketing technology based. So, I've been in affiliate marketing, online dating, display and programmatic media buying, and all kinds of platforms that mainly focus on business growth, marketing, and generally in that B2B space. I have a lot of experience in some B2C as well. But SMB, B2B growth, and that culminated in meeting Cyrus in 2017 and us starting this business here a couple of years later. That's focused on growth through social media, in particular micro-influencer marketing.
Yeah. And you mentioned the startup space. For those who don't know, Toronto has a very vibrant and healthy startup community and has had for many, many years. So we're kind of probably, us and Ottawa are probably the startup capitals of Canada, I would think at this point. Right, David?
Yeah, I would agree with that. Everyone has their capital based on, there's a few centers where certain startups start, and then a bunch of people came from there, and then they start their business. Yeah. So you have that Waterloo region. Vancouver, I think, is in the creative space. They've got a pretty strong scene there because they were doing a lot of production there. So you have a lot of animation studios and tech that's focused on that. Mm-hmm. I think in and around Calgary, you actually get lots of tech on the sort of envirotech side, and here you get everything, but here, this is generally the center. I don't know if you remember Corel, right? Corel.
Oh, I do very much so.
And you also had RIM in Ottawa. So everybody also had Waterloo. In Waterloo, obviously, you have the school and a few big businesses there. So it's spread around like you have a big company, and just like IBM and Microsoft and Apple has spurred off a bunch of new entrepreneurs that now run all the parts of the States. Same here. Yeah. But Toronto's been pretty good to me. There's so much going on here. You're right. Very vibrant startup communities here. Yeah. But I'll say during COVID, it's been different in that the scene was always been, meetups, right? You connected with people at meetups, you connected at events, you got to meet other founders, and with COVID, a lot of that got cut off. Like Cyrus and I have been raising money now for a few months, or we called 6 months. But we started initiating that in a year prior, and that whole thing was cut off, right? The ability to just sort of meet people, connect with them. So you got to start relying on different ways of doing that, things like LinkedIn and different tools out there to connect with people. But I think it's sort of starting to come back together. I'm starting to get the invites for all events again, and everyone's getting ready for the spring.
I miss, before we get to Cyrus, I miss those events. I used to do a lot of meetups, a lot of, business events. And, just before the pandemic, about 6 months ago, one of the guys that I met at an event was David Gerhardt, who was working for Drift at the time. And he was up here, and they did a live, him and David Cancel did a live Seeking Wisdom podcast where they recorded it with a large audience in Toronto. They came up and met the Toronto group. And interesting, at time of this record, David just released his new book today. And I mean, those are the connections that get made. There's nothing that in-person events can replace, even Zoom calls. It's not quite the same.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, but I actually have this thing going on with LinkedIn where I just sort of spend a couple hours each week just connecting to people and having Zoom calls just to meet people. I'm a bit of an extrovert, so I always tend to get a little cagey and need to just meet people all the time. So
am I. So I'm there. Cyrus, do you want to tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background, please?
Just to touch on what David was saying about the tech community, let's not forget about the cream of crop in Ontario, Shopify.
Yeah,
one of the biggest unicorns came out of Ottawa, but now mainly running in Toronto. I think also Shopify is in our niche and space. The Shopify merchants are people that we want to really help with our venture. So about me, basically, I went to school from undergrad to PhD, taking biomedical engineering, and ended up doing stuff with AI engineering, building things around medical space, surgical tools, tele-ECG machines. But what I realized finally, during those years, was that whatever product you build, at the end, you need to learn how to build the business around it and grow it to around a niche or market. And finally, me and one of my classmates 10 years ago started a marketplace called Gymnod, which was aiming to help people with proactive healthcare. But it's a web tech, and that's how we got to web and basically building products on the web rather than hardwares and machinery of biomedical engineering, such as tele-ECG machines, surgical tools, and those kind of things. So fast forward a couple of years, we grew that marketplace a little bit, but we realized marketing is and growth hacking is the core of running a business. When it comes down, whatever product, even if you build the best product, getting your message out there, the way you get it out there, the way you grow it early on, later on, it's all about your tactics in marketing, growth hackings, and strategies that most successful companies they go after. And one thing led into another things, and eventually I got into Instagram marketing. And me and David, as you said, 5 years ago, we got into that space. And eventually, one evening, we decided to build this marketplace, end-to-end free DIY marketplace, to help micro businesses, smaller businesses, e-commerce guys who are in our shoes when we were 10 years ago, like a junior entrepreneur, or for David, maybe 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And they desperately, we needed the help to grow our business and get the traction to get the ball rolling and get excited, the team, ourselves, and eventually the venture grows to the level that it deserves. So it's been 10 years. I've been very much focused on the web and tech in the web space, and eventually Now we are very much focused on marketing and tools and marketplaces that they help businesses to grow their products, services, whatever it is, through the marketing channels, such as influencers. Influencer marketing, as you know, is kind of like a tailing after word of mouth marketing, which is the most efficient way of doing marketing, digital marketing. And we're probably going to get to that later and explain how things have changed.
Yeah. So that was kind of thank you for that. That was going to be my next segue is, what is actually influencer marketing? What does that mean? And I guess when people think influencers, they think big rock stars, big sports stars, big business people. Mm-hmm. But we all know it's so much more than that. So how would either one of you sort of describe influencer marketing?
Maybe I continue with that. Like, basically, influencer marketing has been around for 400 years. Or more like a good example, Top River was 80, 90 years ago, the very first company that executed on that in the best way possible, which is traditionally called word of mouth. They acquired women who go to parties, house parties, and they can become their ambassadors, and they spread the word about Top River, and they were very successful in that campaign. Influencer marketing, as we know today, is actually same concept, but because with the rise of social media and scale that social media brought with itself, it gave a rise to influencer marketing, which means now, anybody, in my view, anybody from a couple of thousand followers to a couple of million followers has its own influence on the in the niche that they are passionate about. They build the audience around, and they can execute the same word of mouth, but in much more scalable way. And tools have been trying to actually streamline this process for businesses, because now when you go to one social media, let's say Instagram, you're facing with thousands, if not millions of micro to mega influencers that you have to have a better understanding of who they are, what kind of audience they have, is it relevant, what kind of quality they have, how much they are worth. So as you see, the rise of social media gave rise to influencers, and that rise gave rise to now all kind of tools and marketplaces that can help people to actually connect both sides of the aisle for word of mouth marketing, essentially.
David, did you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah. I mean, like the first real influencer was Santa Claus. Santa Claus. It's using there's lots of different ways of looking at this, but it's transplanting. It's creating trust through some form of influencer, someone who has influence on other people, right? So how did you get people to actually start shopping, right? You created this persona, Saint Nick, and if you're good, all these retailers piggyback on Santa Claus to get people to go buy people gifts because we can all trust Saint Nick. The idea today is kind of interesting because we talk about something called a creator economy. And with the rise, as Cyrus mentioned, scale and growth in social media and all of these marketers who are, there's a huge movement and a huge amount of people, some say the number somewhere around 50 million people worldwide, who are like mini marketers or entrepreneurs or just people who are good at communicating or are passionate about certain things. And they've created a small living out of it. And some of them quite huge. So on the huge side, you look at someone like Kim Kardashian, who's like, who has someone of $1 billion empire now, who started with influencer, using social media, and then built, some fairly big brands out of that. But the majority of that market is actually a lot smaller, what we call a micro influencer, someone who has say between 10 and 100,000, 150,000 followers. And those individuals tend to connect with, niche audiences or specific people. You think of somebody who loves fishing and is always like doing the fishing videos and talking about different bait and tackle and how they do things, or someone who does DIY, or someone who loves playing guitar, they have smaller followings. And the distinction between that mega influencer, celebrity, who we all think of as influencer, and a smaller micro influencer is that this micro influencer has a bigger, a much more focused audience and a lot more of that trust, because those people who follow them are there for a specific concept. Those people, those micro influencers, are very valuable to brands because they offer an opportunity to connect with whatever your product is about. So if I'm Fisher Reels or whatever it is in the angling business or in the fisheries business, you can really connect with those people, and those people can connect you to a really engaged audience, especially if that person's going to talk about, you're going to send them one of your new lures or something like that, and they talk about it. People will buy that because you've transplanted. You immediately get the trust through that person, and you immediately meet all these people through word of mouth, as Cyrus was mentioning. So the word itself, influencer, has some interesting connotations. Some people call them creators. Some people call them gig workers. It's surfaced as the de facto term, like it or not, right? It is the term that everyone seems to understand. And that's why we appended it to our name, right? It's instantly recognizable in that regard.
It's so true, and people don't understand. Brands are looking for that traffic. A number of years ago, I have a large Twitter following, and I was engaged in a discussion with a couple people about coffee, of all things. Okay. And the head marketing rep for Tassimo Canada reached out to me and said, "Can we send you a new machine?" And not only will we send you a machine, we will send 2 other machines to 2 people that you choose to get 2 other machines. So they basically sent me out a combined 3 machines. And, and it carried on a conversation, and the traffic they got out of it was worth doing. So, I mean, people don't understand. There's a lot of that small little stuff that goes on that people don't realize happens, because they attribute to influencers, to the Kim Kardashians, to the Shaquille O'Neals, those type of people, and they don't realize there's a lot of micro influencers or smaller influencers that are impacting buying trends.
We couldn't have led you in. I mean, you just basically that's the market that we're trying to serve. It's a huge, massive underserved market. So the small business people out there, and small by we're meaning upwards, say $20, $30 million small, generally in the e-commerce space, they have no way of really doing this. They don't even understand it. They don't have time for it. They have nowhere to go do it. There's a trust element with influence. What does this mean? Followers, and are they real? And will they take my money if I give them a deposit? And all of these elements. That huge market is what we're what we're tackling with a influencer, because we're not looking to connect them to Shaquille or Kim. We're looking to connect them to 20 or 30 or 40 really solid micro influencers, and that's what we're doing today.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your product, gentlemen. How did this product sort of come about, and how does it kind of work?
Basically, I'm gonna continue on David's words, like the very last few ones. So as you saw, like there are nuances when it comes for businesses saying, I want to work, even like macro influencers or micro influencers. Even there are more nuances, like because where am I gonna go? How am I gonna find them? How am I gonna realize if they're related to coffee, as you said, or sport, and how much they are worth. There are few pieces of the puzzle that makes working with influencers inundating. If I'm small Shopify merchant and I have so much other things to do, most people rather go and just turn on the Google ads or Instagram ads and pay 10 times money, but they don't think about all these nuances. Where an influencer comes in is to like kind of put all these nuances away and make it so easy and digestible and even no-brainer for these smaller businesses. As we're saying, we make it DIY, do-it-yourself influencer marketing, and even working in a scale because when you go with micro influencers and you want to scale, like you have a big budget, now you're working with hundreds of maybe micro influencers to streamline the entire process and make it easy and DIY. This is where a influencer comes in and tries to help. And as I said, like, there are a lot of unknown when it comes to work with an influencer. How much should I pay? Should I pay first or wait for the or wait for the post to be published or the campaign being delivered? Can I trust this influencer? Is the audience authentic? Is the audience in the city that I want to target? Is the audience in the demographic that I want to target? And this is where an influencer comes in and put the AI in place for you without you even thinking too much. On the other side, sorry if I may, on the other side, micro influencers to get all these sponsored deals and can live a life that they deserve, they are literally, as David said, they're underserved, and it's very difficult for them to just keep going out and talking, sending messages to brands, say, I can promote your product. So this is where this marketplace called an influencer comes in place. Just list your Instagram account and let's sit back and wait for these brands who are related to your niche send invites to you, or you explore these products and campaigns and participate in them. Send your interest and offer to these smaller businesses or brands, and say, I want to be part of your campaign. And so everything else is streamlined, so you don't have to worry too much.
David, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
No, I mean, the idea of really teaching people about this. I know you have some folks here also in your audience who are, web professionals and conversion specialists. And marketers. And it's important to understand that there's a big use case. I mean, I'm a startup, Cyrus is a startup. We know how, you go and create a product, and the first thing you need to do is, market, position yourself in some way. And a lot of that comes down to creating meaningful content. When you're creating content, you end up going to Shutterstock and downloading things, or going to Fiverr and hiring people to create little videos for you and pictures and so on, or even go as far as making your own video or hiring models. And that could be really expensive, and B, could also be, it's not real, meaning that it's not like lifelike to your product. It's not like real people doing stuff with your product. That's why everyone loves testimonials, especially video testimonials, which are like gold, right?
I agree.
So one use case that Cyrus and I are really excited about and starting to hear from our clients is just using these influencers or creators to create pieces of content, right? Like, here, take my product, here's some video, create me a little video over here. And you can get that created for a fraction of what you would spend. And it's much more meaningful. So you can take those, you can get 4 or 5 videos created, or a bunch of images, people on your boat, or on, wearing your clothes that you make, or whatever it is. And you put that on your website, right? So for all the web people who are web building, web designers, and performance marketers, this is a really strong opportunity to leverage this creative, a massive creative sort of trust in all these people. Like, it's a huge vault of creativity that you can kind of tap into to optimize your site and your conversion. And then, of course, the other use case that Cyrus had mentioned effectively was just, you're a small business, and now what, right? Like, now I need to grow and talk to people. And in our view, using influencers is the easiest, fastest way to build trust in your brand. You're a brand. No one knows anything about you, right? That's why reviews are so important, right? It's like Google reviews, and people spend so much time getting reviews. So how do you build trust, and how do you sort of create some momentum? Usually you need 2-3 years in market before people know who you are. So it's a great way to build trust and start generating sales right off the bat. So we're really bullish on this concept, and we built the platform really to assist these smaller businesses with creating ways to convert and interact with people that's more meaningful than just ads, right?
Yeah. How do you get influencers onto your platform?
Cyrus, I like this here. You start. I'll go next.
Okay, sure. So basically, it's a kind of self-serving mechanism that our engine listing over 180,000 influencers, and that list is growing as brands come in and they see these influencers that they are matched with them. They send invites, and where basically there are mechanisms behind the scenes that they get the invites because these influencers, these micro influencers, they are looking for deals. So automatically they get invited to those campaigns. So brands need them, they get invited, they come join the platform, and they work with them or not, or they negotiate with each other. It's all like a democratized marketplace. So we're not in the middle, not making decisions for anybody. So, and the other way we get them is that we are in the app stores. Our apps, Android and iOS, are in both app stores and pretty much very well ranked for influencer marketing, brand awareness, sponsored ads, those type of keywords. We get discovered pretty decently, and influencers are by the hundreds signing up every day.
Yeah. David, in terms of that, do you want to take us through a bit of the customer journey? So I want an influencer. How do I go about it on your platform?
Yeah, sure. So it's really easy. So the trick for us was creating an end-to-end platform. We found that people were using 3 or 4 different tools. Anyone who was trying it, they would use one tool to go find influencers. They would manually go reach out to them, with DMs, or try to, send an email. Most influencers in their little bio will say, if you want to collaborate with me, email me here or DM me. So that's the way you connect with them. And then you typically go to WhatsApp or email, and you start chatting, or even in DMs, you're chatting back and forth. You go in and then, you have a Google sheet with a list of all the people you're tracking and pricing and the deals you're making. And then they go to PayPal for a price to pay them. And then you're monitoring things, just going on Instagram, just looking at things. It was a real scatter of different ways to do it. So we created an end-to-end platform to do all that. So you create a free, and what's really important to understand is that our tool set is 100% free. Okay, it's there. Brands you don't have to get caught up in a subscription fee or a transactional fee or anything like that. We bear all the cost. Is once you do a deal with an influencer on our platform, we just a portion of it is paid out by the influencer to us as sort of a commission. So brands can just go up to our platform and create a free account. And then the first thing you do is you create your brief. So you tell the world, essentially our marketplace, or anyone who wants to work with you, you tell them what this is about, this campaign. So, you're trying to get more people to buy your fishing lures or whatever it may be. And then you talk about where your system's going to ask you, where do you target people? Where do you sell? I sell North America. I'm looking for people who have, influence of people from 10 to 100K. I'm looking for someone to create a nice post for me or video, and so on. So you create your brief, and then we ask them some questions around the dates and other specific questions if you want a link included in your campaign and so on. And then because we have to protect the community, and obviously there's a quick approval process, but that whole process is minutes. You can get it all done within 4 or 5 minutes. And then And then you're brought right into a discovery screen where you can start looking for influencers. And you do that to start with hashtags, because that's really hashtags is sort of how social media is built. It's like topics. Yep. So you throw in a few hashtags and we suggest some for you. We give you some we give you some insights into which ones are really popular. And then, we ask, you're looking for a few other questions, and you're brought into a screen where you're starting to get hosted and matched with people who are connected to those tags. And then you have in that screen, you could see other information that our AI algo sort of has created. So we've been indexing, crawling, and managing this data for quite a long time. Call it 10 or 12 key data points. So we can tell you quality score, for example, which tells you, from a scale of 1% to 100%, what the sort of authenticity scale of this person is. We can give you sort of price ranges based on their engagement level and size and that kind of thing, some price guidance. But also we show you all the main information, their followers, some recent posts, all that kind of stuff. And you can start browsing through them. You can do advanced searches, so you can tweak it down further to, people only from, 10,000 to 50,000 followers and only in Canada. And then you're going to get a list. And in that list, we've automated the invite process, so you can just start selecting them, and then you click on invite. And our system gets to work. We go out and we try to reach out to them via various forms in the back end. And then you're done at that stage. And you're going to start receiving emails, or you can go to your offer screen and you're going to see people come back and make offers. So you're going to start getting this sort of chat scenario. I don't know if you ever used Airbnb, but it's a similar scenario. When you're on Airbnb, you look for a property and then you're chatting with the owner, right? So it's a similar concept. Or if you ever use Upwork or Fiverr, it's a similar thing too. So basically now you're in a chat scenario. It's called offer chat. And that's really our kind of our contract and negotiation screen and collaboration screen. So you can chat, upload graphics, talk about the deal. And then at any given time, it's structured workflow. So, if I propose something to you, you're an influencer. I propose something to you, then it goes back, and now it's, I can make a proposal, and then you can come back and counter offer. And so it goes back and forth in this structured way until someone says, okay, let's do it. And then you can make a payment directly through our system. We have a safe pay payment where we hold the payment in trust. This is really important because there's always this sort of game of chicken that goes on between who's going to pay who first and how you pay. And if you're dealing with 30 or 40 people, that means you've got like basically an accounting nightmare here, right? You have to deal with all these people, but now you can just do it all in one place. We hold it in escrow and we monitor the publishing of the post to make sure that they abided by the rules that you all set out in that deal screen. So basically, you do the deal, you make your payment, it gets published at one point. We also have a little scheduler where you can see all the posts that are scheduled on all the different dates. And then, you're alerted when it's posted successfully or not successfully. And then finally, you get a little screen that shows you the analytics. It says, you got this many, this is how long it was posted for, and this is how many likes and clicks and comments you may have received from that post. So that's all happening through one platform. A lot of people say that it's kind of fun, right? Because you're meeting people, and it all happens. It's pretty easy.
It sounds that. What is the typical average cost of somebody using an influencer? Is there one, or is it kind of all over the map?
Oh, it's variable. It's generally based on the following, and the kind of deal you create. So at the highest level, it's based on the volume of people that you have access to, right? And call it, and mix that with a bit of a quality quotient. So if somebody wants to do a deal with you, but they're not in your niche, then you get a pretty big discount. Somebody has a lot of followers and is in your niche, then that's sort of your, the holy grail. So, it's variable on the number of followers typically and the kind of engagement level, which are factors of how interested the audience is in what you have to say. And it could range from we have, people can get deals done for as low as $5, $10, upwards of $200, $300, $400, $500. We're seeing on average somewhere in the neighborhood of, call it $50 a post, something like that for micro influencers. Yeah. But it really is all over the map.
So to expand on that, Rob, basically, David said followers, engagement, and also relevancy. If I'm medical space, probably I'm not going to be interested to post something on about the cars on my Instagram. And then if I'm going to do that, I'm going to charge more. So relevancy, this is where we're coming in, like to help businesses to not think too much about, okay, if I'm paying this much, is worth or not. So basically, our marketplace does two things to make it the most trustable place for a business to go and work with these influencers. One is like we have an AI-based tracking system that guesstimated the price for each influencer and tells you how much they are worth. And second is that as influencers work in the marketplace and have a track record, not only you will see their past deals and how much they were charged or how much they are worth, but also the price adjusts itself to every time they make an offer, every time they close a deal, to what is more real about them. And the track record of publishing and ROI that they gave the brands previously. So if today you go out and let's say find somebody on Instagram, you have no idea how much they charged the previous coffee shop. But now you could on this marketplace you could see what's going on. It's transparent, and also the algorithm adjusts itself and gets better and better every time they have already worked with somebody or made even an offer to somebody.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. David, how long is the typical amount paid held in escrow? You mentioned that you hold the amount in trust, so to speak, until the post is done. Is it then paid out at the post, or do you hold it back for a certain amount of time? Or
5 days?
Yeah. We hold it for several days because, for one, on average, the campaign runs for more than 1 day. So we want to make sure that what we're doing is monitoring it. So the deal itself has a few key factors. It's the price, what type of post they were going to put on. Is it a story post or feed post? The creative itself that they uploaded for approval. The duration. So the duration is usually typically 1 to 3 or 4 days, maybe even a week. We just want to make sure for a few days that it is in fact staying there. We want someone to post it and then bring it right down, for example. Or they may not have put the link in their bio, which is how it works on Instagram. And by the way, our core focus here is Instagram, right? I want to make sure it's really clear. It's where all of our influencer data comes from. So yeah, we have a policy right now where we track it for those 5 days, and then we re-release it, and it just ends up in the influencer's wallet, so they're notified and says, hey, your money's sitting here and you can withdraw at any time.
Okay. Is there anything else anybody needs to know about using the platform?
I would say we could offer something to your audience. I want to announce that, any businesses that they see and listen to this podcast, they can get $100 credit when they spend their first $500 budget and from us by just sending an email saying, I found you guys on this podcast.
That's awesome and very generous of you. Thank you, Cyrus.
Thank you.
And where do you see this going from here, gentlemen? Is it just going to grow and grow, or are you planning on branching out to another product?
Yeah. Well, obviously we want world domination,
Yeah.
We have a roadmap. I mean, ultimately, we're looking to continue growing some of we kind of touched on a few big use cases here. We definitely want to expand channels. So we selected Instagram because we know the platform really, really well, but also the market that we're focused on, which is e-commerce and essentially the millennial market, it is really active on Instagram. A billion month, 1.2 billion installs, like 300 or 400 million monthly daily active users. So you have a huge amount of activity. So we just started there, but really, you can't go down the street without talking about TikTok these days. That's another platform that we will be bringing in. We have apps that we're starting to design and spec out for the e-commerce shops. As Cyrus mentioned, Shopify. It's a huge success globally, and we want people who have a Shopify store using a one-click method or just a simple app in their Shopify backend to be able to use platforms like ours. So that's a Shopify app, and Magento is another platform. You probably know about all these in your WordPress audience, things like WooCommerce. The ability to quickly take your product and start promoting it through influencer. So that's something that is kind of important. And then of course, we localize this, and you want to go to different countries and different parts of the world. My experience has always been that you convert a lot better and you're a lot more credible when you're in the native language. So you need to localize the application. Lots more AI to build, lot more data. I mean, ultimately right now we're so super focused on just understanding our clients.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. And, you mentioned Shopify, and, a couple other spots come to mind right away as you think about stuff like Etsy, which is a very artistic marketplace if you decide to go there. And there's even stuff like, I wonder if an influencer marketing would make a difference on eBay, to be honest with you, in trying to get word out about a product or an auction. So, I mean, the possibilities are almost endless, I would think.
So to add to that, like actually when we talked with the head of fitness on Amazon, he believed like even this is a very great product for Amazon merchants who want to drive their own traffic to their stores to grow up and to get to the top of Amazon search in the most efficient way, because within all these platforms you can pay for ads, but the ads are the most expensive channel to go after, right? And this is our premise, to make it cheaper, simpler, easier, and more efficient for these smaller businesses and brands to get to where they deserve.
Yeah, I would think so. If somebody wants to check the platform out, how's the best way to get to look at it?
I think it's certainly is ainfluencer.com.
Okay.
And from there, if you are a business, you can just sign up on the web. If not, you could go to Find Influencers page, or you go to apps and find our apps, or you go straight into the app stores if you're an influencer and search for a influencer.
Yeah. And if somebody wants to get a hold of either you two gentlemen to ask more, what's the best way?
Just put Cyrus at the domain, ainfluencer.com, and David at ainfluencer.com.
Yeah. So just go outside in Toronto and yell, "I need influencers."
Yes.
Yell as loud as you can.
That will work. Maybe we'll get some people out, and as long as you yell and don't bring those truckers with you, I'm all good about that. So, we know what the state of Canada has been like. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me. I really enjoyed the talk and learning a little bit more about your product, and have a wonderful day.
Appreciate for the opportunity.
Thank you, Cyrus. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for spending the time with us. Really appreciate it, Rob.
Yeah,
thank you, Rob. Bye-bye.
This episode of the SDM Show is sponsored by Stunning Digital Marketing, the agency to handle all your WordPress website security needs. Go on over to stunningdigitalmarketing.com and find out how we can help you secure your website so you no longer have an issue with backups, being hacked, or your website being compromised. That's stunningdigitalmarketing.com. A very special thank you to Cyrus and David for joining me today to talk about their product, AI Influencer. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.